than speculative quantity $1 billion draft picks. Because I think Matt Ryan's good enough with a great player around him. But Jimmy, you like trades. If you had Atlanta's number 4 pick and Matt Ryan cost you a fortune for 2 years, you can't bail on him. It's dead cat money. Where would you go with Atlanta's number 4 pick?
Well, Colin, you remember a year ago at this time, I said that Detroit should take the quarterback, Herbert, and so, they said, hey, you're crazy. We've got a quarterback. We got Matthew Stafford. Well, I think looking back, they probably would have been happy to take Herbert. Yeah, quarterbacks are valuable. If I was in Atlanta, first of all, you're going to receive a lot of phone calls as far as trading up to that pick. Now, I wouldn't trade very far, but if I got a bonanza type of offer, I could probably trade down a couple of spots and still get the player that I want. And then, if a team balks on you, hey, I wouldn't be afraid if I was Atlanta to take one of those quarterbacks, call their bluff, because you'll still get phone calls even after the draft. But I know you like Kyle Pitts, and he is an extraordinary athlete and player. But I would I'd keep all my options open right now.
Jimmy, it's funny, is a media person, there's only been 3 or 4 players. I say every year there's one kid, Chase Young, where you're like, okay, right, he's going to work. Jimmy, in your history, how many players in the draft did you look at and think, barring an injury, he is can't miss? He will. I mean, did you feel like, boy, he can't miss?
Well, I think you got to see, what you're looking for. I would say, there's probably, I always felt like there was 20, 25 players that can't miss. Now, they may not be an all-pro or they may not be a Hall of Famer, but they can't miss as far as helping your football team win.
Yeah.
I always looked at my picks. I'm saying, for years, everybody said, take the best player available. I said, I don't go that route. I want to take the best player available that helps our football team.
Right.
And if the best player available is not someone that really helps our football team, I'm going to move out of that pick if I can.
Right.
And then, take somebody that's going to help our football team and they're the best player available at that particular pick.
Yeah. Cincinnati historically just doesn't make trades. And then we know the Pete Carrolls will make trades. When you were going down the draft board, let's say you're running a team right now, is there a list of teams that you would be like, okay, we can call these 4, they'll get something done in 10 minutes? Did you know who? Really?
Oh, without question. I had speed dial on every team. And I remember, we were trying to trade out of the pick. It must have been my 3rd year. I didn't want to take a receiver. I saw the best player available, but I didn't want to take a receiver. And so I called every team in the league trying to trade out of that pick. So Joe Gibbs said, hey, we'll make a trade with you. And so we negotiated and we got the trade all done. And so Robert Blackwell was my man in New York. And I said, Robert, are they taking the pick up to the desk? He said, no. He said, I'm watching, Washington and they're not moving. And I kept with the time, clocks ticking. And so, I called Joe back. I said, Joe, what's the deal?
We think you're all, it'd be like being an NBA player that couldn't shoot a 3-point shot. What's wrong with you? And Jimmy started that avalanche. And frankly, as a sportscaster, it makes it a lot more fun. And Jimmy is now joining us live. It is funny about all these guys and all these trades. So when you went and you said, here's my best player, I'm going to trade him. Did Jerry Jones say, Jimmy, nobody, what do we do? I mean, did you get any pushback from Jerry?
Yeah, not really. The first couple of years, in fact, the first 4 years, Jerry was spending all of his time, trying to pay off that $140 million loan. And so he really didn't mess with the football a whole lot. Now, he paid it off after 4 years. And so after 4 years, he wanted to get involved in football.
Yeah, I get that. So let me talk about pro days. I've always kind of rolled my eyes a little bit at him, but, you don't have a combine now, Jimmy, so some guys are having a second pro day. Do you remember ever going to a pro day and thinking, well, I wouldn't have seen that on tape?
No, I can't think of anything in particular, but Colin, the most important thing for me on pro days or even the combine was getting to know these players personally. I didn't want to draft anybody with a high pick unless I knew them personally and unless I've been around them, because we can all see, in fact, I was talking to Matt Rill about it. I said, the very first thing is, can he play? I said, but then you've got to be able to predict, is he going to get better? Is he going to improve? And, the number one thing I said, there's 5 characteristics that I look for, the intangibles, to see if he's going to get better. Number 1 is intelligence. I said, hit me in the head with a hammer next time I take a dumb guy. I said, the second thing, I want a gym rat. I want somebody that works hard, that loves to compete. The third thing, I wanted a playmaker. I don't know if you're a golfer or not, but when you're playing golf, there's certain guys that if they got a 6-foot putt, they're going to miss it every time. And there's certain guys with 6-foot putts, they're going to make it every time. Well, that's the playmakers I wanted, the guy that can make the basket. And then the fourth thing, I wanted speed and quickness, and the fifth thing is character. You can't win championships with bums.
Yeah. No, it's true. And you've always said that to me. I don't want dumb players. You got to be able to learn. And I think that's good. And I think we have smarter and smarter players as we go along, and they got better coaching. Trevor Lawrence said something the other day. My initial feeling was, when he said, his dad said, listen, he could give up football today and he'd be happy. He's not, he doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. He's a happy kid. I don't know. I mean, does that alarm you even 5%?
Not really. I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention, to what I read or what I hear. I would concentrate on what I know. And that's one-on-one interviews, having dinner, having known the particular player for 3 or 4 years. And I know Urban spent a lot of time with him, back about 3 years ago. And so, people have been following his career for a long time, and they know him personally.
Yeah. Atlanta's an interesting team. So I made the argument, if I was a first-year GM and the Falcons GMs are first-year